Over the course of 1 month, these innovative strategies and technologies hypothetically allowed the Ukrainian forces to achieve significant milestones. While the numbers, 30,000 soldiers and 413 tanks, serve as dramatic illustrations, the true measure of success was in the strategic weakening of the adversary's capabilities and the securing of key territories. This phase of the conflict demonstrated the critical role of international cooperation in defense, showcasing how partnerships in technology and intelligence can tilt the balance in modern warfare. Russia lost more than 400 tanks, 533 artillery systems, and nearly 30,000 soldiers in December, according to new figures from Ukraine's military as the grueling war nears the 2-year mark. Moscow's troops have lost 359,230 soldiers since launching its full-scale invasion of the country on February 24, 2022, Ukraine's armed forces said on Sunday. At the beginning of December, this figure stood at 330,040 soldiers, meaning Russia's military lost 29,190 fighters this month. Russia also has 413 tanks and 533 artillery systems throughout December, according to Kyiv. The Kremlin does not provide a running total of reported Ukrainian losses, but said on Saturday that 660 Ukrainian soldiers had been taken out in the past day. It is very difficult to determine casualties in an ongoing conflict since both sides will try to keep the data secret and inflate the number of adversary casualties. Marina Miron, a postdoctoral researcher in the Department of War Studies at King's College London. Ukraine's wielding of cluster munitions and the targeting of Russian vessels with long-range Western weapons is racking up the Russian casualty count, he said. Whole Russian units are being wiped out. On Saturday, the British Defense Ministry said the average number of daily Russian casualties had increased by nearly 300 per day in 2023 compared to the first year of the all-out war. The increase in daily averages, as reported by the Ukrainian authorities, almost certainly reflects the degradation of Russia's forces. Alongside the reported death toll, Russia's military has lost huge chunks of its pre-war armored vehicle and tank fleets in its war effort. It is very difficult to gain an accurate picture of just how many armored vehicles and tanks have been damaged, destroyed, captured, or abandoned. But Western analysts suggest Ukraine's numbers are not far from the true count. Significant Russian vehicle losses are unlikely to slow as Moscow pushes on with its onslaught around the Donetsk Oblast industrial town of Avdiivka. Russia has thrown resources into encircling the town since early October, inching around Avdiivka, but at a steep human cost. Ukraine said on Sunday that it was inflicting major losses on Russian troops and had fought off 18 Russian attacks around Avdiivka over the previous 24 hours. On Saturday, Colonel Alexander Stupin, spokesperson for Ukraine's Tavria group of forces covering Avdiivka, said Russia was launching fewer artillery strikes but was using around 100 strike drones each day. Russia's defense ministry said it had targeted decision-making centers and military facilities in Kharkiv, Ukraine's northeastern region that borders Russia. Moscow said its missiles killed members of Kyiv's intelligence services and its military who were directly involved in a Ukrainian strike on the Russian city of Belgorod. On Saturday, Russia accused Ukraine of an indiscriminate combined strike on the city of Belgorod using missiles equipped with cluster munitions and checkmate rockets fired by multiple launch systems. Belgorod's regional governor, Vyacheslav Gladkov, said on Sunday that 24 people had been killed with 108 people injured. On Friday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed the Kremlin had launched its most intensive strikes of the more than 22-month-old war. Close to 160 missiles and strike drones were launched at Ukraine in the barrage, he said. Zelensky announced on Saturday that 39 people had died and 159 people had been injured in the hit on almost 120 cities and villages. Russia then launched several waves of attacks from Saturday evening into the early hours of Sunday, said Kharkiv's regional governor, Oleh Sinhubov. Moscow fired at least 6 rockets at Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, between 7 p.m. and 7:20 p.m. local time on Saturday. Sinhubov said, "The attacks damaged several residential and medical buildings, injuring 28 civilians." Russia then attacked Kharkiv with Iranian-designed Shahed attack drones and targeted more than 15 settlements in the Kharkiv region with artillery and mortars. Sinhubov said, Ukraine's Air Force said Russia had launched 49 Shahed kamikaze drones across the country, with 6 S-300 anti-aircraft missiles fired on Kharkiv. Ukraine's air defenses intercepted 21 of the strike drones, Kiev said. On the eve of the new year, the Russians want to intimidate our city, but we are not scared, said Kharkiv Mayor Ihor Terekov. Tallies for Russian casualties have also been difficult to confirm throughout the war, and Ukraine's figures are higher than many other estimates. The Kremlin rarely releases its own numbers, and when it does, the figures are thought to be undercounted. However, the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces on Friday said Russia has lost 422,310 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of the full-scale invasion launched by Russian President Vladimir Putin in February 24, 2022. Thank you for joining us in this thought-provoking journey through modern military tactics and innovations. Your engagement fuels our passion for uncovering and sharing these stories. Russia has faced challenges in maintaining its military power for offensive operations in the future. The IISS has estimated that Russia has lost approximately 1,120 tanks in the past year, which is a significant loss for the Russian military. Russia has been forced to sacrifice quality for quantity in its tank production, as it has been unable to replenish its losses at the same rate. The Ukrainian military has also been able to supplement its Soviet-era vehicles with Western-supplied tanks, such as the German-made Leopard tanks. This has complicated the logistics involved in deploying new sets of equipment and has likely contributed to the loss of Russian armored vehicles. The loss of armored vehicles has also affected the morale of Russian troops as they have faced heavy losses in the war in Ukraine. The Ukrainian military has been able to destroy Russian weapons with incredible speed, which has weakened Russia's ability to maintain its military power for offensive operations in the future. In summary, the loss of armored vehicles has had a significant impact on Russia's military strategy in Ukraine, forcing it to adapt its tactics and potentially reducing its ability to sustain offensive operations in the future. Russia has had to change its economy to sustain its military operations. The Russian economy is now substantially oriented towards war purposes, with federal military spending increasing to at least 5% of GDP. The loss of armored vehicles has also affected Russia's military capabilities. The sanctions imposed on Russia following the annexation of Crimea in 2014 have affected the production of military equipment, including tanks and air defense weapons. Russia has had to rely on old stocks and refurbished vehicles to replace the lost armored vehicles. This has required significant resources and has likely contributed to the economic challenges faced by Russia. In summary, the loss of armored vehicles has had a significant impact on Russia's economy, particularly its defense industry, and has contributed to the economic challenges faced by the country. The reliability and sustainability of a military force are only as strong as its supply chain. Russia's failure to address critical issues in logistics management contributed significantly to their inability to sustain prolonged combat operations and protect their armored fleet. Furthermore, Russia's technological inferiority in certain key areas proved to be a decisive factor in the loss of armored vehicles. While boasting formidable firepower and armor, many of their vehicles lacked advanced defensive systems and electronic countermeasures, making them easy targets for modern anti-tank weapons. Faced with mounting losses and dwindling resources, Russia was forced to implement strategic retreats and loss mitigation measures to salvage what remained of their armored fleet. However, these efforts came at a significant cost, both in terms of military capability and national prestige. The decision to retreat from contested territories and consolidate forces was a bitter pill for Russian military leaders to swallow. It marked a humbling moment in their military history and served as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of modern warfare. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry posted on X, or formerly Twitter, about how many pieces of equipment its forces had managed to destroy in the first 24 months of the war started by Vladimir Putin. In the post, it said on Monday, 13,000 Russian armored combat vehicles have been destroyed since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. It's, on average, more than 500 armored vehicles per month. Ukrainian warriors destroy Russian weapons with incredible speed. Bravo, the Defense Ministry added. The update on Monday also said that throughout the war, Russia had lost 6,809 tanks, 12,141 vehicles and fuel tanks, as well as 1,017 multiple launch rocket systems and 720 air defense systems. The latest numbers from the website Oryx, which lists equipment losses based on video or still footage, said that, as of Sunday, Russian forces had lost 1,261 armored fighting vehicles, 858 of which were destroyed, 34 damaged, 101 abandoned, and 268 captured. Oryx says that the standard of proof required means that the amount of equipment destroyed is significantly higher than it records. Its latest figures said that Russian forces had lost 2,827 tanks. Ukraine also said on Monday that Russian forces had lost 810 troops the previous day, taking total losses of troops, including both those dead and injured, to 431,550. In analysis released on March 14th for the Jamestown Foundation, military analyst Pavel Luzin said Russia had been taking Soviet-era arms out of storage to offset its dwindling supply of weapons, despite these reserves being limited. Luzin, visiting scholar at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, said that the storage bases are not endless, and Russia cannot replenish these arms and material. If Ukraine keeps up combat intensity and Russia continues to face high equipment losses this year, it will be much harder for the Russian army to maintain its military power for offensive operations in 2025. Luzin added, Vladimir Putin has claimed victory in a controlled presidential election. The Kremlin wanted a win to consolidate backing in the country for the full-scale invasion. Despite economic challenges and military losses, Putin's ability to maintain domestic support amidst sanctions underscores his strategic resilience, raising concerns amongst neighboring states about potential provocations under his continued leadership. And there you have it, folks, the untold story of how Russia has lost over 500 armored vehicles. From strategic miscalculations to tactical errors, every decision made on and off the battlefield shaped the outcome of this historic event. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights into military history. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.